Hey team, and welcome. I'm your host, Carrie, creator of Mother Life, your destination for all things real talk and parenting. This is the IRL group chat, where we talk about the wild balancing act of pursuing careers and passions while also doing our best to show up for our kids. Join me every week as I sit down with some badass parents in my closet and we talk about their careers, kids, and relationships and all of the weird shit that comes up when you're trying to balance the seemingly impossible. All right, team, welcome to the first Mother Life solo pod. We are dealing with fresh pow pow. We got a new audio card in the system. So, we could just run this bad boy for 30 hours or some shit. Just kidding. It's already past my bedtime. It is 9:16 p.m. when I am starting this little endeavor. Kind of taking advantage of an unusual opportunity. So we had an episode that was supposed to air this week. And as I've talked a little bit about on Instagram, it did air briefly. The subject of that interview and his family, it just didn't sit well with them. And ultimately, this is a family podcast. I say fuck a fuck ton, but we're not here trying to make people uncomfortable. This should be a celebration of all of the weird shit that comes up along the way of parenting and our lives, but it shouldn't make anybody give the ick to themselves or others. And so we just unpublished. And you know what? First time in 34 episodes, it's got to happen sometime. And here we are. It's giving us this wonderful opportunity to have a hang, just you and me tonight. And yes, I am still in my closet. So how am I going to do this? A bunch of you sent in some wonderful questions, comments, topics that you wanted me to talk about. We're going to see how long I can riff on these things without wanting to both poke myself in the eye or just throw this machine out the window. I'm a girl who likes to chat, so it feels a little lonely in here tonight, but let's see what we can do. So I am first going to try and tackle some of the questions that you guys asked me, and then tell you a little bit about some of the things that I'm thinking about and some of the topics that I'm working on the Substack that will hopefully be coming out in the coming months. Some of these feel like opus type projects, so I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through them. But yeah, where do you find me? It is the weekend. It's Easter weekend. We are coming out of spring break. We're in the home stretch to getting back to school, and we've just about survived it. We were initially planning to go away for the holiday week. And it's a funny thing because I spent most of my adult life traveling monthly internationally for work. I love travel. I love being in the world. I love experiencing new things. And yet with kids, there is nothing I find more anxiety inducing than having to go places with my family. Love them deeply, but the joy is sort of sucked out of it for me for now. They're really little. Everyone has different philosophies about traveling with their kids. I think back to the Zach Brooks episode where he is hell-bent on traveling with his kids, and so is his wife, because that's part of their sort of philosophy of how they want to live, even though he admits it is by no means relaxing and everyone fights with each other. I just don't have the constitution. I don't have the bowels for that sort of thing, So we were going to go away. We didn't go away. It was for the best. It ended up, of course, being a week that slowly got taken over by some work stuff, but I did try and protect some time to have some good moments with the kids doing fun stuff. We went out to a farm. I am as Jewish as it comes, but if there is an activity for me to do, I don't fucking care what religion it is, I'm in. So we were all in on Easter this week, even though it's also Passover, because there aren't a lot of Passover egg hunts, but there are quite a lot of Easter egg hunts and activities to do around the Los Angeles area. When you don't have kids in school, that becomes extremely valuable. So we went to a cute farm. We had a bunch of local outings. I think the funniest was today to cap off the sort of official spring break activities. We went to the zoo this morning with my cousin and her daughter and some other people. And this has never happened. We go to the zoo all the time, and the zoo was closed for the first 30 minutes of the day, would not open because there was a coyote on the loose in the zoo. And this was like a pretty funny thing to have to explain to my son, how some animals aren't actually welcome in the zoo. And in my mind, I'm just imagining there's like a bloodbath inside of the zoo because the coyote has just been having lunch, with the flamingos. And luckily everything was fine, but it was kind of the perfect semi-chaotic cap to this week's activities. All right, let's get into it. Let's stop fucking around. So first question. Somebody asked, how do I juggle my day job, my side job, and my family life? And thank you for asking the question. I don't is the short answer, in the sense that I am not one of those people who, my friend Paige Port has a wonderful podcast called Diddle Day in the Life, where people with interesting jobs come on and like walk you through a day in their life. And for the most part, these people sound unbelievably composed with how their day start. They like start the morning at 5:30, they go outside, they look at the sun, they meditate and journal and drink a glass of water, and maybe they have some like, I don't know, fucking vitamins I've never heard about, and then they do cardio for an hour, and then eventually their children wake up and they all sit together and have these beautiful meals. It ain't me, people. It ain't me. I don't have like a regimented system. I don't set an alarm. I'm like waking up because a kid's yelling, "Mom, I have to pee." Like that's the kind of energy we're dealing with. And it works for me, and it works because of the kind of life that we have. So I thought it would be useful just to like explain a little bit about what my life actually looks like on a day-to-day basis. Ultimately, every day, every week, every hour of the 3 different things that I do, family, my side gig, my main gig, like different things are the priority and different things are taking my energy. So this week with spring break, for instance, I knew that my kids were going to be the priority. Yes, I have help, but I don't want to miss their spring break. So I move things around and I don't do the things that are optional. I do the things that I have to do professionally so that I can maximize the time with my kids. So it's not neat and tidy, and as is the way of the parent, especially I think the mother, there's often this feeling like you can't win. I think Rihanna said something recently, basically this idea that like, no matter what thing you're pursuing, if the thing is the passion of your life, if it's taking away from your kids, it does still feel like a trade-off. If you're pursuing your professional goals and your dreams, but it takes you away from your kids, like that's a trade-off. And vice versa, if you aren't pursuing those things, even if you're giving up an opportunity to spend time with your kids, you start to question, like, are my priorities in the right place? And for me personally, that changes literally daily and hourly. So I don't juggle it very well, but I am really lucky because I have an extremely flexible day job, which I can talk a little bit about. And of course, the podcast and Mother Life universe is also a flexible endeavor. And I have an incredibly deep bench of people who help run our lives. Like we have an amazing au pair, and if people have questions about that, we can talk about it another time, who lives with us and is a wonderful help. My mom is around every now and then, and that's a huge help. My son goes to daycare or preschool, and we have a housekeeper. We have loads of people around helping us to fill the gaps here and there. To just make sure that everybody has what they need, more or less. It's not a perfect system, and my kids and myself and my husband, like everybody has to compromise to make the whole thing work. Sometimes people have to wait or get picked up late or whatever. But, there's sort of an ecosystem that's extremely flexible that helps to make it all happen. And it's also to say that my day job at this point, both I'm doing because I enjoy it and I believe in the people I work with and work for. I'll talk about it in a second. And also practically that funds my ability to pursue my side gig, which for now is the Mother Life universe. And I have every intention of making that my full-time gig at some point. I completely believe in what we're building here together, and with the support and the encouragement and the wonderful notes of affirmation that I get from all of you, it just affirms that we're moving in the right direction and we're doing it together. But for now, my day job both helps me continue to grow professionally, but also pays bills that allow me to do this side gig, as we're calling it for now. So my day job is I work as sort of the interim chief operating officer of a movie ranch, which sounds very Los Angeles of me and is totally different than the PhD I earned in environmental law and sustainability now quite some time ago. But it does leverage a skill set that I have built over, more than a decade in sort of professional consulting, working mainly internationally, and I'm just applying it to a very different set of problems. So there's this incredible ranch. It's called Blue Cloud Movie Ranch. If you need to film something, both commercials or movies, you should check it out. And it's a really beautiful space, 30 minutes from my house in Los Angeles, an especially designated zone for making things. And I work there along with its sister production company, New Normal. And we're making cool stuff. We're working with cool people. And we're just trying to imagine, what is this next generation of entertainment look like? Because we're in such a time of flux. So it's a wonderful place for me to be, to stretch my brain and my imagination, to hone a bunch of important sort of business acumen skill sets while I'm building my own thing. So how do I juggle my day job, my side job, and my family life? The only other thing that I'll say is my side job often gets done after the kids go to bed. Besides obviously recordings that are happening during waking hours when people are literally coming to my house or virtually recording, a lot of what I do happens after the kids go to bed. And that's just a trade-off I'm willing to make, because while I'm sitting and tippity-tapping at my computer, I'm having a good time. I'm not really missing out. I feel like I'm filling my cup while I'm doing that. And somebody I don't know very well who will be on the pod soon, shout out Jackie Seiden. Jackie said to me upon first meeting, I don't know really much about you, but the universe is telling me that you need to be writing. There are voices saying that you need to be writing. And I totally get where that was coming from pretty much a complete stranger. But it is, for me, everybody has different outlets. For me, cooking and writing and podcasting, as it were, are the things that really, really energize me and make me feel myself. So I'm working on my side gig, but I'm doing that after hours. And in a way, it feels very regenerative for me. It's not like I'm doom and gloom in my room and the lights are off and I'm exhausted and I'm continuing to go. It is very energizing for me. So I'm not juggling very well, but they're all sort of getting done when they need to get done. And part of that is because I don't have to clock in from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday to get my day job done. And my night job or my side gigs lets in where it best makes sense. So thank you for that question. Now, this question comes from somebody who I have reconnected with kind of through the podcast and through the Instagram channel. And we haven't really been in touch, and now we're back in touch. And that's a wonderful byproduct of having started this project. And the question that she asked me was, how has moving from the US to Hong Kong, back to the US, to the UK, back to the US, moving east and west, how have all of these places sort of shaped my views about being a woman in the world? And I love this question, and also there's no way I can thoughtfully answer this by myself without somebody to chat it through with, because there's so many layers to womanhood and to identity, and I don't think it would be super interesting for me to just wax poetic about it here by myself. So we'll wait for the right forum, the right person, the right time, and we'll get on that subject. So thank you, but no thank you. I won't be answering that question now. Somebody else asked, what's the latest on my Crohn's and where am I in the process? There have been some ups and downs over the last 6 months, to say the least, but for regular listeners and followers, mainly followers of the Instagram shenanigans, was diagnosed with Crohn's when I was 16, largely didn't do anything about it for a very long time. met my wonderful husband in my late 20s, and he said, I think it's really weird that you have a disease and you completely ignore it and you don't do anything about it. Went to get checked, and turns out I had literally never been in remission. I was just actively sick all the time and thought that I was getting food poisoning a lot, which is a very like 20-somethings person like take, right? Not to think, oh, maybe I could be connecting these dots, but just be like, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. I can still hang. Must be food poisoning. Anyway, so that was my late 20s. Since then, and since having kids, we think there's some emerging research, according to my new gastroenterologist, on sort of hormones, women, and irritable bowel diseases that suggest that as we go through hormonal shifts, the nature of our gastrointestinal diseases also change. So I had a lot of changes around having my kids with my disease, and unfortunately it's gotten worse. So 5-6 months ago, I had about a foot of my intestine cut out, which was a huge deal. I kept thinking it wasn't a major surgery. My surgeon kept reminding me that yes, in fact, indeed, it was a major surgery. That experience kind of rocked my world in so many ways. And we'll talk about it because another question sort of touches on it as well. But my surgeon basically said, as I talk about in a recent Substack article that I'll link in the show notes to this episode, she was like, just get in the best shape of your life, because if your starting point is higher, if you're in peak physical shape, you're going to deteriorate pretty significantly over your 2 weeks of recovery. So why not make your deterioration back to like your current normal? And I thought that was a sensible thing to do. And there's all sorts of research, and I was part of a study on recovery from IBD surgery. And basically everybody wants you to get up and moving as fast as possible. And the best way to do that is to be in good shape going in. So I made some pretty dramatic life changes. I wouldn't say I was like massively unhealthy before, but I would say I was in a place of like, I'm postpartum. This is my new mom body. This is my new mom vibe. Like, this is just where I am in my life. I kind of took the bull by the horns and said, you know what? I can also make some active choices to change things about where I am. And so I started doing a whole new diet, which I'll get into in a minute. I started weightlifting, like heavy weights with a trainer at the gym, and ultimately had a very successful surgery, or so I thought. I went for a colonoscopy 5 or 6 months after the surgery recently, fully expecting clean bill of health. Like, I am a recovering people pleaser, A+ student. Like, you give me a note and I take the fucking note, much to my chagrin sometimes. And that recent colonoscopy found some new ulcers in my intestines, which was very, very upsetting for me, because as you can imagine, when you change your entire life to achieve a goal, only to see that your body has other plans, that's extremely disheartening and frustrating. And so now I am in this new state of just trying to figure out with a new doctor, is it my medicine that's not working? Is there something I'm doing that's not working? And, you know, we're not back to square one, because I am significantly healthier than I was. And I'm in a safer place than I was now that part of my intestine has been taken out. But, you know, we're back to not having a lot of answers. I think the hardest part about having a diagnosis like Crohn's is everybody's triggers are totally different. For me, my triggers have never really been food related. Like, I know, for instance, like alcohol, I don't drink anymore. I've just totally given up on it because it makes me feel like shit. Like, it's not worth it for me. But eating various things, that's never been hugely triggering for me. Ultimately, the things that have really been my triggers are A, stress, and B, altitude. Interestingly, didn't figure that out till much more recently. And as I mentioned, I used to travel a lot for work. So I thought I was getting a lot of food poisoning, but I was indeed just having a lot of Crohn's. Whoopsies. Whoopsie-daisies. But on the stress point, you know how when you're like mad, you're like fucking pissed, maybe you're having a fight with your partner or whatever, and they say, calm down. What do you want to do? You don't fucking calm down. You're like, guns blazing. Like, don't tell me to calm down. You don't know how I'm feeling. It's kind of the same thing that I'm feeling when everybody, all of my doctors, my psychologist, everybody, don't stress. Stress makes the disease worse. It's like, well, what do you think I'm going to do with that? Like, I can't move to an alpaca farm and meditate all day. Like, I have shit to do. I've got kids to raise. I've got dreams to chase. Like, yes, I get it. I need to figure out how to relax and be in a more meditative state. But clearly, my body has been processing my stress pretty harshly on the old intestines. And I got to figure out something new. So I've now figured out how to make my body stronger. And now I guess I need to figure out how to make my mind stronger. But for some reason with that feels like there's a lot of pressure to not be stressed, which is in fact stressful. So if you're listening to this and you have any genius ideas, like don't tell me breath work. I'm fucking breathing, everybody. I'm doing the breathe in, breathe out, nose, mouth, yada, yada. Massages don't work for me. Tried it. I think I just need to find my own path and my own way and do it in a way that doesn't make me feel like, again, I am completely overhauling my life. I did that with the eating and the working out. I don't know if my family or myself can handle, or my career can handle like an entire other 180. We got to figure out how to make it work with the system. As I'm saying that out loud, I do appreciate I need to probably revisit some of my priorities. But ultimately, this is all in service of being healthy and happy for myself and being around for my family. So anyway, long story short, we don't know what's going on with my Crohn's. I am going to do this very sci-fi thing shortly where I swallow a pill that has a camera in it. And the camera takes a looky-loo, and we get some more data, and we make another game plan. So I'll keep you guys posted. If you or a loved one is suffering from Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, I encourage you to get your regular checkups, talk to your doctor. If there are things about your treatment that aren't working for you, or if you aren't sure if it's working for you, just like do your best to take notes and pay attention and know that like you shouldn't have to live in discomfort. And of course, this goes beyond just those two conditions, but believe yourself. If you feel shitty, believe yourself and investigate it and interrogate it, and don't just assume that it'll go away eventually, because maybe you need some help with it going away. The next thing that connects to that is the sort of my new approach to cooking and eating and all of this stuff. As people, especially if you follow my Instagram, you'll see I'm passionate about food. I love food. I was an early adopter of blogging, and unfortunately, I feel like all these blogs are now dead, but I had several blogs early on. We're talking sort of 2005 to 2010, I want to say, where I was blogging about all manner of things, usually food and travel related. And I had one series, I think I must have been in my early 20s, called Process Free Carry, where I documented my journey of a year of eating without processed foods. Like I had a food dehydrator. I was dehydrating my own fucking dried mango. I really went for it. I was doing farm shares to get meat brought to me in New York City, all this crazy shit. But from, we're now a long way away from there, 15 years ago or so away from that blog. And I'm finding myself back in the same place. That my body, and I don't think any of our bodies really like highly processed foods. And I mean, psychologically, I fucking live for them and love them. But ultimately, there are no shortcuts. There are no bars. There are no shakes. There are no things that replace just real food. and real food that's grown real well. So in this sort of chapter of my eating journey, I'm doing a mix of two things, and both of them are based on the recommendations I was given for my specific condition by my specific nutritionist team. And this is not like you go do this. I'm not giving you this recommendation, but for the condition I have, two things were recommended to me. One was something called enteral nutrition, which means drinking your calories instead of chewing them. And apparently there's some studies that suggest that with a specific formulation of shake, if you drinking your calories instead of eating them, it's just as effective, if not more, than taking steroids to keep someone in remission from Crohn's disease. That's pretty fucking crazy, guys. Also, I'm not a monk. There's no way that I'm going to sit, like, I'm not Gwyneth Paltrow drinking fucking bone broth day in, day out to look chic. Like, it's just not for me. Like, I need to chew my food. But in the lead up to my surgery and following, I did agree with my nutritionist team that I would do like a 30% enteral nutrition diet every day. So that means I'm drinking mainly these Orgain protein shakes that are on their approved list. And that was a really tough transition. And now I'm used to it. But it was shocking, how full I felt, how much I hated these shakes. And like my body really did need to adjust to just this much liquid nutrition. It was very different, but now I've gotten used to it, and I kind of appreciate that if I don't know what to eat, I can just grab one of these and I don't have to think about it. Now the rest of my calories I'm doing in a way, and I feel comfortable saying this because there has been so much research on it, that for everyone, for all of us, some version of the Mediterranean diet, obviously like food, allergies, and whatever aside, is the way to go. So I'm doing my best to follow the Mediterranean diet when I am chewing my food. And again, not a perfect person. We'll still happily eat some Easter candy this weekend. But really being aware of what's going in my body. So really limiting my processed grains. So if we're having dinner and let's say everyone's having spaghetti, I'm not going to make my kids eat like shitty lentil spaghetti or whatever. It doesn't taste good. Let them have the real spaghetti. Let them live their lives. And that is technically part of a Mediterranean diet, Italy being in the Mediterranean. But for me, I'll make farro in the rice cooker and I'll have the same sauce or whatever, but I'll just have it over farro instead of spaghetti. I'm trying to think other examples. Basically just trying to eat limited. My husband doesn't eat red meat, so I only eat red meat maybe once a month. That would be at most. Trying to eat more fish, chicken, and making sure that several dinners a week I'm eating vegetarian. And that what I'm eating is relatively unprocessed. It's not like I'm not being crazy about it, but I'm just trying to think like, do I need to eat this processed food? Yes or no? And sometimes the answer is fuck yes, I do. Then I'm going to go for it. But the shakes are like processed enough, these shakes that I'm drinking for the other half of the recommendation. So, I'm cobbling together something for me. But again, this is the beauty of finding a registered dietitian, nutritionist to work with you on what your goals and needs are. And not everybody's bodies are the same and needs the same things, but I'm starting to find something that like really is working for me. So that's exciting. What else did we ask me? Milestones. So I wrote something on the Substack a long time ago about milestones, which basically was like, and I'll again put this in the show notes, was talking about like, don't rush on the milestones, right? Like take your time. Your kid's going to do the thing in their own time. And I feel like with your first kid, sometimes there's a pressure to, at whatever stage they are, look around at their peer group and wonder why your kid isn't doing the thing that everybody else is doing. And my general thesis of that piece was like, unless your doctor, your kid's doctor is telling you that there's a cause for concern, like please just give yourself some grace and know that they'll figure it out. And for the most part, a vast majority of children will go to college walking, and they will go to college potty trained should they decide to go to college. And like, it's going to be okay. So going into having my second kid, I really like took this on board, very chill. But it was very clear to me that my daughter was super not interested in walking, and in a way that was different to my son. So I had like some points for comparison, but I still really took my time. And ultimately, it was recommended that she do physical therapy to support her in her mobility journey. She has the cutest, weirdest little squat. I can't even really describe it. We call it the scootin' mop because her butt is basically mopping up the floor as she goes along. Apparently it runs in the family. I think my nephew did the same thing. But we got her in physical therapy, and honestly, like, hate it, haven't enjoyed it, think it's miserable, similar to how I felt getting her a helmet early on, which I've also written about. Haven't enjoyed the experience. I know that it's broadly been good for her, and like now she is walking somewhat haphazardly, but she is walking at 1.5 years old. But I think the logistics and the stress of like watching your child cry for an hour during one of these appointments, and knowing that like you have to take off of work because there are some things that I'm just not willing to let somebody else do for my child. Everybody has their own tolerance for this and ability, but like my au pair is not taking my daughter to her allergy appointments or to her physical therapy appointments. Like, I want to be there for those things. Very, very overwhelming. But now that she is like toddling around the house and walking around and is starting to decide that maybe this is her preferred mode of transportation, I don't know if anything has felt better. Just watching her achieve something that I know was actually really hard for her to achieve. And I think the joy that I've gotten from watching her achieve this milestone is like magnified because of the hard work that we sort of both had to do to get her here. So I'm kind of like reflecting back on that piece that I wrote about milestones, and I still stand by it. I stand by like not to rush yourself and not to rush your kid and to take your time. But I think what I would add, if going back, and maybe I will go back, is that like, man, when it is hard for them to achieve the milestone and they do, it's just an incredible feeling. It makes the whole thing so much more profound. And I could see how that would be true if your kid's having a hard time learning to read or making friends or being comfortable in social situations or riding a bike or whatever the fuck it is. The process, I know, is annoying and frustrating and hard because you just want them to get it. But man, does it feel good when they get there. So I think moving forward, when we're navigating milestones, I just need to remind myself over and over and over again and visualize the outcome rather than focusing on the discomfort of the moment. There's my little Zen reflection that nobody asked for the day. Or I guess you did. Somebody did ask me about thoughts on milestones. Listen, let's not make this a whole opus. I'm gonna wrap up. I can't believe I've been talking in my closet for 30 minutes. With feeling fried. The concept of feeling fried. It's the most cliche thing. Fried and tired? Like most cliche concepts in parenting, I feel, especially of young kids. And yet, lately, I have really deeply been feeling the fried thing in a way that has made me realize how true every single fucking cliche is. This is my first summer where my kid's going to camp, trying to plan a summer trip and keep in consideration everybody's like logistics that go into that. All of the medical visits that I've had for my kids, for myself, taking care of myself, both physically and mentally, like just all of the shit, and trying to fit it all into a day, and still trying to like build something and show up for myself. Because part of the fried is I've made a promise to myself, and everyone has different schools of thought on this, but I made a promise to myself that part of my self-preservation is going to be pursuing my goals and my dreams. And, you know, I think the knee-jerk reaction is like, you're doing too much. You should quit something. You should stop something. And if I were to do that, the obvious thing to go would be the thing that feels like the most important to the legacy that I'm building for myself, which is this community. So now comes the work and the mental acrobatics, bringing us back to managing stress that I mentioned initially, with making it all happen. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not a perfectionist, but making sure that I show up for myself and build the thing that I want to build, which is why in some ways it was so important for me to record this solo pod this week, because I wasn't going to let a week go by where I didn't show up for you guys and I didn't show up for myself. And yes, I did show up because we recorded an episode and we ended up taking it down, but I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't stick to the commitment that I've put for myself, which is to release an episode every week till the end of time, until, you know, we're all wearing our Mother Life hats and doing a secret handshake when we see each other in Trader Joe's. Not buying the mini Trader Joe's bags. If somebody wants to give me one, that's fine. But like, we're not doing that, guys. I know all of you have them. We've got too many tote bags. I've been so tempted. They're so cute, but I know I shouldn't do it. Anyway, just to say, feeling fried, but feeling grateful that I get to hang out with you guys, that I'm connecting with so many new wonderful people as a consequence of this project. I'm excited for the things that we're building and growing. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a review, share with a friend. I can tell from our analytics, we're growing every week, and we're growing specifically because you guys are telling your friends about the podcast and to tune in. So please keep doing that. Share. Let's grow this community together, and let's make it the true mothership that we all deserve. So I love you guys, and I'll see you next week with another wonderful episode. Team, I need your help. If you love it here, please like and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to the Substack for full access to this episode's show notes and join the discussion. And of course, follow me on Instagram at Mutha, MUTHA.life, for a daily look at all things Mutha. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for another Chat in the Closet. This podcast was produced by Mother Life, music by Ronan Landa. See you next time.